request here today. This is for a music ramble. I can't remember what it was. I think it was they asked favorite bands and stuff like that. So I've done some of music talk in the past. I've showed some of the tickets. I still have ticket stubs. I forget where they are. I think they're under the bed in a bin. I'll talk about concerts I've been to, bands I like, what I'm listening to now, and stuff like that. In this vid, kind of first CDs I had and stuff. Speaking of that, the first CDs I actually got, I don't know if I had any tapes, because I really started actually listening to music when I was maybe around 9. Obviously I'd heard stuff, but got into it more. And then I think it was 5th grade for Christmas. It would have been 89. I want to say it was 89. I got my first CDs. I'm pretty sure it was 89. But it was, I think there was 4 CDs. Actually, let me see something. It was definitely... It might have been 90 then. It might have been 90 because when did Dr. Feelgood come out by Motley Crue? I do like some Motley Crue stuff. Not a ton. I don't know if it was 89. It might have actually been... No, it says 89. Alright, so maybe it was Christmas 89 then. Because I got the Dr. Feelgood CD. I got... You see, but I had Decade of Decadence as well by them. Now, I don't know if that was 89, too. Or maybe I didn't have that one. Maybe I didn't get that one immediately, because those are the ones I had. Those are the ones I had by Motley Crue. The Decade of Decadence was the greatest hits, I believe. Yeah. Alright, see, no, I had that later then. Because that said it was released in 91. I did not get those in 91. So it was probably these 3. It was definitely Dr. Feelgood. I remember Dr. Feelgood was Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden. And I think it was Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses. It was the 3 CDs, and they were in the, classic. The CD was just up here, and then you had the long box, kind of like the old PlayStation games. Just a waste of cardboard in the case of CDs, but I remember those 3. I think I had cassettes after that, but I might have had a cassette or 2 before that. I'm not sure. I do remember having the Black Album on cassette, and that came out, 91? Now, I wasn't going nuts, but, I was this when I was getting into, getting into bands, and honestly, with Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses, I like more Guns N' Roses than Motley Crue. Like I said, I like some of the songs on Dr. Feelgood, I think. See, Dr. Feelgood's a really good song. I like that song. Rattlesnake Shake is on there as well, which I like, and I can't even remember almost anything else that was on there. Does Kickstart My Heart wasn't on that one, was it? I don't know. And Appetite Destruction is a classic, even though, in my opinion, a lot of people might not agree with this. I think Guns N' Roses is overrated, honestly. Great rock band at the time, but they didn't have the lasting legacy. I know they're around now. I think they're he's redoing stuff from Chinese Democracy, but they're not releasing new stuff for some reason. It's why don't you get together and make some new music? But they don't. And I don't like Appetite for Destruction as much as I did back then. I don't listen to much Motley Crue either, unless it's on the radio at work. They usually just play Dr. Feelgood, Kickstart My Heart, or I don't really like it, but Home Sweet Home. That song's alright, but that might have been on Dr. Feelgood. Like I said, I don't know. Number of the Beast, I'm trying to think. I must do better at remembering all the songs on Appetite for Destruction. You have Welcome to the Jungle. Sweet Child of Mine, right, is on there. Or Sweet Child of Mine on Lies. Got a little EP, or was that another version? I don't know. My Michelle's on there, Night Train, right? Mr. Brownstone. Other songs. Even Number of the Beast, I'm gonna get into Maiden in a little bit, but Defenders is on there. Number of the Beast. Hallowed Be Thy Name. Run to the Hills. Oh God. I'm actually kind of pissed. I can't remember all the songs. There's only I think 8 on there. 22 Acacia Avenue was on that. Was that on there too? I can't remember if that was on that or was on Killers. I think it was on Number of the Beast. I forget the other ones, but anyway, those were my first CDs, and then I got across other stuff. I started getting into more bands, like I said, Metallica. I had heard some Metallica around that time, like a little before. It was probably off of Justice. I'm sure I had heard some of the tunes off like Master of Puppets, Kill 'Em All, and Ride the Lightning, but I started getting into the Black Album. I love the Black Album. I know when it came out, I remember I had friends whose brothers were a bit older, like 4 or 5 years older, that were like pissed about the Black Album. I love the Black Album. I think it's good. I mean, that brought everybody, like, that generated them so many fans, and I think, in my opinion, it's still a really fucking good album. Inner Sandman is kind of fucking played out, and so are some of the other tunes, but you have, like, Don't Tread on Me, and Holier Than Thou, and Through the Never, Struggle Within. My Friend of Misery, and stuff like that, is awesome as well. And then Load and Reload came out, and people were even, like, more like, oh my God. And I even at the time was like, what the hell? But then I'm like, these are solid albums. I don't like every song on both those albums, and they're very similar. But I do like quite a few of those songs. I like pretty much almost any Metallica album, although I'm not as big a fan as them as I used to be either. The new album's pretty solid. I really like about 6 tunes on there, and some of them I don't like the way he sings. I was saying this to my friend on one of the songs. I think it's in a mirrored room or something like that. The way he sings some of the words, I don't like the way he sings on some of the songs on that album. And in my opinion, I don't think his lyrics are nearly as good as they used to be. He used to write some sick lyrics, and some of them are still really good, but it's also been so long, right? They've had a lot of albums. What's the name of that album? 21 Seasons. Right? No. 17 Seasons. Not 21. 17 Seasons. Is it 7? No, wait. How many is it? I forget. 22 Seasons. I forget. But I like the Shadows Follow. I love that little riff in there. I like Saint Anger. I think Saint Anger is pretty good as well. The drums, you almost gotta try and tune out because they're a little too much on the snare and shit like that. But I like that album too. Like I said, I don't hate it. I mean, the funny thing is, like, I don't go nuts. Even like the older stuff, like I said, the Kill 'Em All, Justice for All, Master of Puppets, Ride the Lightning. I don't even listen to that as much as I used to, but it's still fantastic. I mean, Megadeth's another one I got super into. I do not really listen to much of them anymore, but I got to see them in '98 on the Cryptic Writings tour, and it was the main 4, like their best lineup. Obviously Mustaine, David Ellefson, Nick Menza, and Marty Freeman. Like, it was an awesome show, and I really like Cryptic Writings. Like, that to me is their Black Album. It's got a different sound, a little more rockish, but still really. A lot of people didn't like it, but a lot did as well. But I thought that album was sick. But like Rust in Peace, in my opinion, is like could be the best metal album. It's up there. It's good. It's that album's sick, and it's such sick beats for a fucking metal album. But I was into like Faith No More. Real Thing was one of my earlier albums as well. Even though before Patton, what was the guy's name? Chuck something. He had died I don't know how many years ago, maybe it was a couple of years ago. I think they had 2 albums before that. They had We Care a Lot, which was, We Care a Lot, I think, and then Introduce Yourself. Introduce Yourself is a great album, and that doesn't have Patton on it. It's kind of similar musically, like the sound is similar to Real Thing. I think We Care a Lot actually appeared on Introduce Yourself, but it was also another album that had I forget some of the songs. And not most of them. But I really liked Real Thing, and there's another album that I don't like as much now. Like, I think Angels Dust is one of my favorite albums ever. King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime's awesome. I like Album of the Year. Soul Invictus, that led the album when they came back together. I have not listened to it enough, but I did like what I heard. Once again, a lot of bands, I'll get into it too in a little bit. the way I listen to music now is different than how I used to listen to it back then. Like sometimes at work too, my friend will put on either full albums or like some of his playlists, and you're gonna, so you're hearing more stuff. But that's like the way I listen to music now. I throw on YouTube or something, and I'm listening to like video game soundtracks. I'm super into video game soundtracks. Like I'll listen to shit from all the Final Fantasy games. Like the battle themes are awesome from a lot of them. I'll listen to like remixed or metal versions of Castlevania tunes, or if just not listening to 8-bit versions of those songs. Like the Revenge of Shinobi soundtrack on Genesis is sick. It's just great. It doesn't even need to be redone. It's just sick. I listen to stuff from the Fallout series. I listen to a lot of the Halo soundtracks before, after, was it Marty O'Donnell? I forget who the other guy was. I think he had left, and then it was just Marty O'Donnell, I forget. But like the Reach soundtrack, the soundtrack from the first Halo was awesome. The second one, like all of them have great tunes. The soundtracks on the later ones after they had left are still good as well, but not as good. And stuff like that, I'll just give me some video game soundtracks. I just love that stuff. Like to me, orchestral music is like so much more powerful in my opinion than music with lyrics. Even though I like music with lyrics, obviously, but it's just something about like the emotions that come out when you're listening to like an orchestral tune, like even like the classical stuff or soundtracks from movies and games and stuff like that. I saw the Andre Ryu, I think his name was, when we were in Tampa, when we were in Florida, we went to Tampa and whatever it's called, their stadium with a lightning play. We saw him there, and that was him and his orchestra. It was a really cool concert. Like, it was really well done. And they did other stuff too besides playing music. They had like a good time, which was actually really cool. And I was like into Helmet and then Ministry. Primus I listened to back in the 90s, and I was into them, but I got into them even more later on, like after Antipop, before Green Noggahide, and then they had a few other kind of, what's the word they use? I forget the word they use. Kind of like experimental type stuff. They did the Desaturating 7, and then they did the was it the Willy Wonka, some shit like that too. Buckethead, I like Buckethead. I think he's ridiculously good, and he makes a lot of good stuff. Pantera was cool. I was into Pantera. I listened to him like from Cowboys from Hell. I'm not super into him. I know they had the glam out. They were a glam band before Cowboys from Hell. Phil was on like the last glam album. It was like the Concrete Jungle, one of them. You listen to some of that stuff and it's not bad. They changed it up. But they had a very unique sound. Like Dimebag Darrell had such a unique sound with his guitar. But then I think it was Reinventing the Steel came out, and me and my two friends were in my one friend's car, were listening to it, and like it's called Reinventing the Steel. And the first song, I'm like, is this all for Cowboys from Hell? I'm like, they're not reinventing shit. But they were sick though. Like what was it? Cowboys from Hell, Fall Beyond Driven, Vocal Display of Power. Was it Great Southern Trendkill? And then it was Reinventing the Steel. All sorts of stuff. I'm not super into them, but they have a lot of sick shit too. Slayer's another band I was never super into and still am not. And another one is Tool. And a couple of my friends bone over Tool, and I'm not going to deny any of these bands' talent, but for me, I just could never super get into them. I like some Tool stuff, I like some Slayer stuff, but I never got into them crazy. Like, it just got, I know Tool has fans that are just like, and honestly, I'll listen to fucking anything these days. Like back in the day, in high school and stuff. Like high school, when I was listening to in high school, was a lot of the rock. Another band I really don't care for much anymore, Zeppelin. Like, and once again, it's not saying they don't have talent, even though they fucking stole a lot of shit. I just lost interest in them. We listened to a lot of that stuff. Another band that I got into much later on, we listened to a decent amount in high school, but I wasn't into them as much, and I wish I was back then, is The Doors. The Doors is like, some of their, especially their earlier stuff, was like tripping out at a carnival. It just had a carnival vibe to it. And I was like, why was I not listening to this stuff earlier on? And the funny thing is, in the early 90s, mid-90s, I'm listening to this stuff. And it's been longer since then to now than it was from then to when they actually were around. Obviously, Jim Morrison died in the early 70s, but never was super into the Who. Black Sabbath is fantastic, obviously. They influence a lot of fucking bands. Phil Anselmo's other band, Down, is really good. They're very influenced by Sabbath, and they have a lot of good shit. Like Queens of Stone Age is really good, and Caius was another one. What's his name's first band? Why can't I remember his fucking name? Oh my god, the main guy from Queens of Stone Age, and he was in Caius, when he was young. Caius is really good. They didn't get a lot of attention back in the 90s. They started in like the early 90s to mid 90s. They didn't have a long run. But they had like 4 maybe albums or something like that, and they were really 4 or 5 albums. They were really good. Just like stoner rock. Why can't I remember his fucking name? Oh my god, I can't believe I can't remember his name. I know the bassist Nick Olivari. He was in Caius for a little bit, and he was also in Queens of Stone Age for a little bit as well. Josh Homme is the guy's name. But Nick Olivari, I don't know if that's how you say his name. He had a sign band. I don't know if he still has a Mondo Generator, which I really liked. But Queens of Stone Age is really good. I mean, that's another one where I don't like every album. But when I do. Caius, like I said, is really good too. And then the stuff, Soundgarden's really good. We listened to a ton of Soundgarden, Alice in Chains. I was never honestly a big Nirvana fan. Once again, another band that I think was overrated. They were starting to get overrated before he died, and that just, when he killed himself, if you want to say he did or didn't, either way, it took them to another level of just, everybody was like, oh my god, Kurt Cobain is the greatest thing ever. I think Jerry Cantrell said this, and I would agree. He's like, not a great guitar player, hell of a songwriter. The dude was an excellent songwriter, and that's the key, right? And he had some really good lyrics as well. But I was never super into him. I remember, I was going to a basketball game with my friend, my mom. It was a Nets game. And it was on the radio that day. I forget the day. It was like April 4th or 5th or 7th. I don't know. But it was shocking. You were like, holy shit. But I didn't like them as much as like Soundgarden and Nirvana. I mean, Soundgarden and Alice in Chains. I probably liked them as much as like Pearl Jam. Like those first 2 Pearl Jam albums were great, and then I lost interest. Even Alice in Chains with the new, he's not the new guy anymore. William Duvall is his name. That he's been there with like 4 albums or something. Those albums are solid. I don't listen to it all the time, but it's really good. Because Cantrell's another great songwriter. I got to see Cantrell when he did his first solo album on Boggy Depot, and that's a great album, Boggy Depot, and that was a really good show. My favorite show might have been the Megadeth show. I saw Metallica too. I saw him in '98 at the Metal. I think it was still in Meadowlands at the time, or Giant Stadium, whatever. But we saw them at Roseland, and they only did cover tunes. It's like right after Garage Inc. came out. They also had the original one, and Garage Days it was in the '80s. They did this one, and they only played 2. I think they played in Philly, and they played in New York City. I remember me and my friends waited online for like 5 hours at Tower Records, and 5 of the 6 first people online were me and people I knew, and only 6 of us got tickets. Like my one friend was after somebody else. I think he was the last one to get tickets. Amazing show, and they had the band that opened for them was covering just Metallica, which was cool, and they did a good job. That was an awesome show. I saw Helmet twice, once in Amityville, and then it's not the Helmet I would have liked to see with John Stanier and Henry Bogdan. But Paige Hamilton's another great songwriter, and he does have good musicians with him. We saw them in the Bowery Ballroom. I think it was there in 2016. That was an awesome show. Like, they were loud, and they were great. They played the whole Betty album, and then another set. It was awesome. So good. Betty's another amazing. The first 4 Helmet albums, Aftertaste is really good too, but Strap It On. In the Meantime and Betty are just amazing. I like Size Matters as well. And the other albums, I think there's Monochrome, which I had, which was decent. And then there was Seeing Eye Dog and Dead to the World. I'm into some of that, but I don't like them like the way I like the other ones. And they have a new album coming out soon, actually, too. Street was another band that was sick. And then he went from, and he admitted as much. He's like, I did whatever the producers told me. Like, his first album with Sympathy's like a dance album. And then Twitch came out, and it was starting to get that kind of industrial sound. And then, like, Land of Rape and Honey is just such a fucking sick album. So is Mine Is a Terrible Thing to Taste, obviously. Psalm 69, whatever you want to call it, it's great. I think Filled Pig's awesome, too. It's like a heavy, slow album. Dark Side of the Spoon's pretty good. Then they turned almost to thrash. I think they got Tommy Victor from Prong, who was on a few of those albums, those thrashy albums. There was The Last Sucker, Rio Grande Blood, and Houses of the Mole, which had some sick shit on it. Like, and he's had a few. I think he's had one or two albums after that too. Al Jurgensen, Uncle Al. 9 Inch Nails is really good. I mean, and like I said, I'll listen. I was saying before, I was trying to say that actually. I went off to something else. I was more for like that music stomp back in high school. Like, oh, you listen to that shit. I'll listen to anything now. Like, I like Lady Gaga shit. I'll freaking listen to shit that's kind of cheesy, and I can admit it, but I like it, you know. I just don't care anymore. Like, I'll listen to whatever. If I like the sound, I like a lot of things with like noises in it, like shit like that. Like kind of the techno stuff with little noises coming in out of nowhere. I had some rap stuff when I was younger too, but it was kind of known stuff like Dr. Dre and shit like that. Anthrax is another band that I think is pretty damn good. I like them better with John Bush than was it Joey Belladonna. Was the first singer. But John Bush, he has one of the best voices in metal, if not the best. Dude's got a great Sound of White Noise is my favorite Anthrax album. But top bands like Maiden. I'm gonna talk about Maiden now. I used to fucking love Iron Maiden. I saw them when Bruce came back to the band after he had left, and they did the X Factor in Virtual 11, I think. And then he came back. They Brave New World. They saw Madison Square Garden. Awesome show. They don't change their set list up on a tour, but I think it's good for them because they're so tight and it sounds so good. But then they made, was it Life After Death or Dance at Death? And it just all sounded the fucking same. Like they have a new one. I think it's called, I don't know what it's called, Shinjitsu or something like that. And my friend's playing it. I'm like, I can't fucking listen to this. Bruce he's trying to sing. I know he's done some opera shit. He sounds tired and he's like over singing. And I'm just like, it sounds like Brave New World. I can just listen to Brave New World, But even the first two albums with, I forget, Paul Di'Anno was their first singer. I think he has died too. Also. Chuck Mosley was the Faith No More singer. Before Patton. Mr. Bungle, real quick. Mr. Bungle, Patton's first band before he went to Faith No More, and then he kind of almost used Faith No More at first to gain popular, get eyes on Bungle, and then people would go to see Bungle thinking it was like Faith No More, and they'd flip out. The first Bungle album is fucking a masterpiece, in my opinion. It's so good. Disco Valiente and California are both good. Tom Hawk's another a band he has with Trevor Dunn's in there, I think, as well. John Stanier from Helmet's in there as well. And I don't know, the guy I've seen, the Jesus Lizard. I forget his name. I think he's the one who started the band. Him and Patton started the band. I can't remember his name. Tom Hawk's really good too. And another great band John Stanier's in now is Battles, which is like, they call it math rock, but it's just very precise stuff. A lot of noises in there as well with good guitar work, and his drumming is just incredible. And it's funny, they started with I think 4 dudes, then one guy left, then they had 3, then eventually the one guy left. Now it's just the 2 of them. Is it Ian Williams is the other guy that's in the band now? But I like them. I think they just actually played with Bungle. Bungle's playing. It's him and Kevin Dunn. And Dave Lombardo from Slayer. He hasn't been in Slayer in a while. And Scott Ian is on guitar. But yeah. Maiden. The first 2 albums before Bruce came, Killers and Iron Maiden. Killers is one of their best albums. Iron Maiden's good too. And the Number of the Beast still has that kind of punkish sound that Killers had. And then the Maiden sound came into the mix with Peace of Mind and Power Slave. Both awesome albums. Somewhere in Time is one of their best too. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son's really good. I like Fear the Dark. It's a little cheesy. No Prayer for the Dying is extremely cheesy in my opinion. It's not one of my favorite by them. But I love that Maiden, and then after Brave New World, like I said, I started hearing it was like the Final Frontier, Dance of Death, Life After Death. It all sounded the fucking same, and I was like, I can't. Like I said, I mean, I don't mind a lot of stuff like, whatever's on's on. My first concert I ever went to was Van Halen. I think it was the Balance Tour at Jones Beach. That was a good show. Saw Roger Waters there, and Page and Plant. Speaking of Zepp, and Pink Floyd's another great band. 311 I saw there. I really like 311 as well. When I saw them in concert, it was on the what was the album called? It was the one that was Down on it, and Hive, and I think it didn't even have a name. I think it was just 311. I think it was either their second or third album. I think Grassroots was one of them. I think they had one other album. They were really good though. But I was into him back then, but not overly into him. I got into him more because I think that was only like no, I'm sorry, I didn't see him on the 311. I saw him on the Transistor album because I think it was '98. It was not the 311 album. But that was a good show. But Red Hot Chili Peppers I like and stuff, and just CKY is really good. They have a cool, unique sound, or did. I know Devon Miller's not in the band anymore, and the album they put out without him is pretty good. We saw them too without him in Amityville, and that was still a good show. They still sounded good, but it would have been great to have seen him with him. I was talking about Buckethead earlier. His first band was a band called the Deli Creeps, and I guess into like 2005 or something, they actually put out the album that they were making. This album is so fucking good as well. It's so good. It's like good horror metal type shit. CKY is like the horror metal, similar to like a White Zombie, Rob Zombie as well. At least that's what I call it. Stone Temple Pilots was really cool. I saw them with the Chili Peppers at the beach. It was like right when Weiland came back to the band, and it was the number 4 album. They opened and still played like 10 or 11 tunes. It was really good, and Chili Peppers were great. That was on the Californication tour, I think. Patton also had a vocal album that I used to have back in the day. It was just him making noise with it, not like doing all this weird shit. He's done all types of stuff, that dude. Peeping Tom, I don't know how many albums they had. If they just had 1 or 2, it was really good. Oddly enough, I've been listening to more Perfect Circle. Speaking of Tool earlier with Maynard, I think I like Perfect Circle more than Tool, and people will probably kill me for that. But and Pussifer, I think, was originally his first band, and they had a first album that was really good. They have other albums after that, but I haven't heard much of them. There's tons of music. You know what I've been listening to a little more of and getting into, liking a little more, is Godsmack. Even though I don't think they're incredible, I've gotten into their stuff a little more than I had been back in the day because my friends really liked them, and I was just like, eh. But I've been getting to them a little more. Creed's getting back together. I like some Creed shit. I think they actually are back together, and people love that band. Those 3 albums they put out before they broke up, and then they put out a 4th, but those 3 sold like crazy, and I think the 4th one even sold well. But I will, listen to anything these days. I don't care, even if it's pop or rap or rock or metal or fucking classical or whatever. Techno, whatever the hell it is. I've listened to some of the Lonely Island songs that came out like 10 years ago. I was listening back then with Andy Samberg, and I forget the other 2 guys' names. We did the song with Michael Bolton. He did the Throw It on the Ground song, Jizz in My Pants. I mean, I'm missing a lot of bands here, obviously, but and then I like stuff like Mudvayne and Slipknot's cool. With Sugar. Not that I listen to a ton of that shit either, but Arch Enemy, I think they were called. still, heavy stuff still gets me like excited more than the other stuff back in the day. I mean, the other rock stuff, but the Beatles was another band I was never into, but I never fucking would never deny their talent, but I just never was into them. Tom Petty was another person I really like. Traveling Wilburys, his other band, well, not his other band, but it was like Roy Orbison on the first album, Bob Dylan, George Harrison from the Beatles, and Petty. That first album was incredible, and then they made a second that was okay. But you know, like I said, I'll listen to anything and shit, and I've gone to a lot of, I saw Petty twice. Once at the beach, once when I had a panic attack and missed half the show. And I've talked about that in the past, I'm not going to do it again. In the city, Irving Plaza was at a, that was fun. Until the panic attack. I heard about like 10, 12 songs and I got a panic attack. And left with my friend. And we met up with friends later. Who else have I seen in the city? Aerosmith, I saw at the Garden, they were incredible. I think they're doing their last tour now. AC/DC is a classic rock band. Billy Joel, Phil Collins when he's in Genesis and shit. David Bowie. I mean, there's so much good shit. You can go on and on. That's why you forget so many bands. Rage Against the Machine was really good too. I think they got back together, toured, and then Zach De La Rocha like blew out his knee or some shit. I think they'll be touring again. Smashing Pumpkins were solid. Stone Temple Pilots' Purple album is fucking amazing. That's one of my favorite albums. My top 5 bands ever were. I think I talked about this. Helmet Ministry, Faith No More. Maiden was in there, but I think Maiden's taking a back seat because I can't listen to the new shit. Like, my friend puts it on, I'm like, please, I can't. But yeah, that's just, I was all over the place here. Hopefully, you know, I got over half hour here, but I do like talking about music. Like I said, what I listen to now is just a lot of soundtrack stuff and random stuff on YouTube. Just whatever song I'm into listening to, I'll throw on. Like this band Theory of a Dead Man's been around for a while, and I started listening to his stuff, and I've heard some of it on the radio and didn't know who it was. And I'm like, this shit's pretty good. And they had a new album that just came out. But anyway, I will stop it there, and it's just a request of a music ramble about bands I like, some concerts I've been to and stuff like that. And thanks for checking us out, and have a good day.